Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Oh, gosh. All right. Well, if everyone wants to find a seat and settle in, we're going to go ahead and get started. So my name is Maggie Schrader. It's good to see you all. And I am this year's Jesuit volunteer, AmeriCorps member, Street Roots vendor program coordinator. But the most important part of that title for today's event is Zine editor, which means that I had the privilege of working with so many people to put together the zine that you all are here to celebrate. So I'm so very excited to welcome you to our zine party. And I want to say thank you for celebrating with us this afternoon. So this afternoon, we're going to share snacks and stories and art and community in celebration of the hard work that goes into creating this annual publication. We'll hear from Street Roots Executive Director Kaya Sand and a brief introduction from Open Signal, our fabulous hosts for the day. Then we'll listen to our featured, round of applause. We'll listen to our featured zine vendor writers share their own original poetry and prose. So first, I would love to invite our Open Signal representative to share a little bit about what our hosts do so we can learn more about this beautiful space that we're in.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daniela, and I'm the communications manager here at Open Signal. So welcome. Thank you for being in our space. We're really happy to host this event. So if you aren't familiar with us, Open Signal is a community media center. Our mission is to nurture the change-making power of community media in service of a just and equitable world. So we've been in this neighborhood for 40 years now. We had our 40th anniversary last year. So we've been working with local media makers and storytellers so that they can share their work with the world. We operate 5 cable channels that broadcast citizen journalism, independent films, and all sorts of TV shows made by just the widest variety of Portland's communities. So if you have a project, if you have a video of any kind that you'd like to air on our channels, we would love to share it. At Open Signal, you can take a class, check out production equipment like cameras and lighting. You can film a TV show or a music video in our studios, and you can also connect with our very talented community of creatives for collaboration. We work one-on-one with people to bring their ideas to life. As an organization, we are dedicated to those who face barriers to entering the media arts and film industry, and we believe in the transformative power of creativity. So we are a community-based organization, and it's thanks to our community of media makers and our partners like Street Roots that we're able to bring Portland stories to the world. So thank you again.
Oh my gosh, Daniela, thank you so much for sharing that and for hosting us today. Really appreciative to Open Signal and all that they're doing for us. Now I'd like to welcome our Executive Director, Kaya Sand, to share just a little bit about Street Roots. We know Kaya has been Executive Director of Street Roots since 2017? 2017. It's my anniversary. Oh! Kaya is an author, poet, teacher, artist, among other talents, and we're so lucky to have her here. Kaya Sand.
Thank you, Maggie. Maggie has stepped into this. She arrived in August of this year and immediately got to work on bringing together the editorial committee and working with Katie, our fabulous poetry instructor, working with Kanani right here, who produced this zine, laid it out. So would everyone, all the vendors who are on the editorial committee who are here, could you raise your hands? Okay. So they They put in a tremendous amount of work into this zine, working with Maggie to really not just select pieces, but work with the writers and artists in their revisions. So it's a real commitment. And, from start to finish, this is really a project for Street Roots vendors. Everyone who's here who has work in this, could you raise your hands? And I'm just going to have a few other, because I do think, so Katie Rossing teaches our poetry workshop on Mondays. And then Robin right here, could you raise your hand too? Because she taught the poetry workshop before, so there's a whole kind of legacy here. And I don't know if Kanani raised your hand when I mentioned. And Cody Zarnke, who's our community partnerships, who set this up. And then every Street Roots vendor who's not in the zine who came to support fellow vendors. Could you also raise your hand? Because honestly, that's awesome, right? That is really a part of the whole spirit, is supporting each other, really championing each other. I mean, when I think, I love poetry, and so being at Street Roots is a great place to be. There's a Salvadoran poet, Rock Dalton, and he would say that poetry is like bread. And when I think about that with Street Roots, I think about bread is something that's exchanged, it's important, it's something we love. But poetry is also like socks, it's also like blankets, it's also like compassion. It's also like all of these things, right, that are shared in surplus at Street Roots, oftentimes by people who have very little themselves, who give as much as they can of that very little to someone else. So to me, poetry then is also about generosity. It's about taking this thing that we all share, language, that we all have a role in making, right? We're always changing. What's the latest word of the year? Riz, right? The language is always changing, and that's really cool. It's socially made, like we're all making it. And so when people on the streets are taking this thing that's like everyone has a right to it, everyone has access to it, and they take it and elevate it and make art out of it, it's something that we should all feel just, incredibly privileged to get to be a part of. And that's what we get to do today. So I give you the Street Roots Holiday Zine. Thank you.
Kaya, thank you so much for sharing that. We are so appreciative of your leadership and insight and perspective and enthusiasm, which is always so amazing. All right. So we all know about the Holiday Zine because we're here to celebrate it, but I figured I'd provide some more background on it. It's an annual publication comprising poetry, prose, and artwork created by zine vendors, by Street Roots vendors. Whether selecting the theme, creating written or visual art, editing our submissions, or distributing the final product to readers, Street Roots vendors are at the center of this publication. This process spans months and involves so many people across the entire organization. This year's theme is Making It Through Hard Times. Certainly, each of this year's contributing creatives have firsthand experience in this topic. But while every piece addresses the zine's central theme, each does so in a unique way drawn from the individual's lived experiences. Some pieces reflect on how someone changes in experiencing hard times. Other works are situated in the midst of the hard times, seeking a path through that hardship. Many poems uplift the people and ideas that accompany someone through hard times, a perspective, a friend, a community that provides solidarity and hope. Some written works identify hard times faced on a societal level, and they call for change. Often, the creative works undercut common assumptions about experiences of homelessness, and together, these pieces show the variety of strengths and griefs and vulnerabilities and communities at the core of Street Roots vendors. The zine provides additional income for our vendors during the holidays, just as vendors buy the newspaper for 25 cents and sell it for $1 plus tips. Vendors buy the zine for $1 and sell it to readers for $4. For Street Roots vendors, the zine is an opportunity to highlight creative sides. Vendors published in the zine are also compensated for their creativity. The zine has been an absolute joy to work on this year. I'm especially excited for you to hear from some of our writers and creators today. It's a courageous thing to share your writing and artwork, and the zine is impossible without these courageous creatives. I'm really grateful to our zine committee. Bronwyn, Shaggy, George, Dan, Leo, Whitecloud, and Maddie Brown Clark were terrific and thoughtful and creative, and I loved our Friday mornings so much. I'm also super grateful for Phoenix Oaks, who made our beautiful cover, and the many Street Root staffs who provided guidance and insight along the way. Kanani, Kaya, Cody, Carly, among others. All of the names that start with K sounds. With all that said, I would love for us to get into our readings for the afternoon. So I would like to welcome to the podium first Joseph Whitecloud Smits. Whitecloud enjoys writing poetry and songs, as well as short stories. Whitecloud admires many people in his lifetime who have inspired his writing, including his father who raised him, as well as his biological uncle who taught him to value education, financial responsibility, and self-care. In his free time, he enjoys drawing, learning, and teaching others. Whitecloud also served on the Zine committee for the first time this year. So I hope that you enjoy Whitecloud's poem, Home is Where the Heart Is.
Right here or there? Okay. Didn't bring glasses, but you see. Home is where the heart is. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. Home is where the heart is. Everyone needs a place to call their own. Whether it's a car, yard, apartment, house, RV, tent, or anything else. Life is what you make of it. That's what they say. Home is where the heart is. Many things happening, sometimes beyond our control. Safety, health play such a role. We all want a place to call our home. Deliberately so. Home is where the heart is. Neighbors, community, and us can do so much. Lots of politicians look down on everyone with disgusting, judging, throwing penny-like fines, doing what they see fit, not to benefit society or us. Home is where the heart is. All I stay where I feel. I don't care if I have to get appeals. Stand with me, protect and help the innocent. Home is where the heart is. I'll be there standing strong, because we, the innocent, belong.
Thank you so much, Whitecloud. I really appreciate that beautiful poem. Now I would like to introduce Douglas Wookie Marks to read his poem, We Live as We Dream. Wookie has been writing since he was a child, and he's been homeless for 10 years. He wrote for his high school newspaper, but he always wanted to delve into creative writing. And he began creative writing with Street Roots Creative Writing Workshop, which sparked a passion for the craft. Now he's been published in Street Roots more than 20 times. I hope that you enjoy Wookie's poem, We Live as We Dream.
This poem was actually inspired by our class. In the class, we were talking about epitaphs. And I decided to use an epitaph, and what I actually wrote in the class is what got published. But the thing I really wanted to write is the second thing that got also published, though. So, We Live as We Dream was a quote from the class. We live as we dream alone. It's from Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness. Now, we learned that we could agree with it or disagree with it, you know. So I kind of decided to disagree with it. But are my dreams always alone? Do I always live alone? I say no to both these points. For change to happen, my dreams must be shared. For my life to have true meaning, it must be shared with at least one more person. A parent, a sibling, a childhood friend, a spouse, a coworker. Otherwise, my whole life has no meaning. And it's easily forgotten when I die. And like Martin Luther King Jr., by the way, they made a minor error in the editing, had a dream of equality, I have a dream too for the homeless of our fine metropolitan area. that everyone who wants to be housed is, that we truly have affordable housing to help survive these hard economic times. I wrote that in 15 minutes.
Okay, can I grab that copy? All right. Is Dan Newth here? No? Okay. All right. Next up, we have Marlon Crump reading his poem, Memories of a Mad, Not Mac Daddy Marlon. Marlon is a writer and community advocate of 20 years. His writing strives to challenge people's stereotypes about others, and he frequently publishes poetry and articles in the newspaper. Marlon values community, and his motto is, quote, "Community is unity." I hope that you enjoy Marlon's poem.
I just want to say I'm grateful to be here, and like as you can see on the screen, this past year a lot of vendors have passed away, a lot of pretty much unexpectedly. I've been doing Street Roots since 2011 for about 12 years, and I've always had a passion for writing even before I joined Street Roots. I've been published, I've been featured even on TV a few times, and I've done poetry before, to write around Portland and other places. This particular piece is something that, we all hate stereotypes. I mean, it may sound fun here and now, but it's not. And as an African-American man, we got to put up with so much, ignorance. And one of the things that I always hated, that I hate with a serious passion, is I think, you guys not tired. You remember when I mentioned about we have all these judges but no lawyers? One of the main things I really hate is when people can take one look at you and they make that judgment call. And, what was it? A few months ago, I was working, and I've heard this a few times, because, you're the best dressed looking vendor there. I was like, well, I appreciate the compliments, but vendors, I've been homeless myself, and it's a lot more to the person than how they look. And as I was working, this lady came up to me, young lady says, "You're a pimp." I froze. I said, "What did you just call me?" And of course, I'm in a professional position, so I couldn't bite her head off, And so I looked at her, I just gave her that look. And a supporter came to my aid and said, "You know what, ignore her. She has, this green cartoonist-like hair, and she doesn't know where she's going, so don't even worry about her." And I said, I'm gonna turn a negative into a positive, and by using one of my abilities to write. So this particular piece I've written is called Memoirs of a Mad, Not Mac Daddy, Man Marlon. My nickname is Madman Marlon, by the way. From birth, from the earth's sands beneath sandals, will stick to the holy ground. On our very Mother Earth, as we populate, I inoculate the illness of ignorance, mirrors revolving around and round. Image of certainly properly attired, well-spoken men ignored through the mind slapping the seen only by eyes. Skinned by sin to feature false insecurities driven by a wheel of lies. Born black, mind intact, spirit under attack, unsold soul that's a fact. An inner self city with no tourists. Curious of my inception, fears are no deception, but an exception for community connection. Biblically, Eve advocated Adam's apple to be fruit from the poisonous tree. No league of ladies lounging to be free to see me for a few. To tell a black man or a woman, "Oh, don't be proud, don't be loud," like saying slavery wasn't real. The art of the deal didn't steal. My credentials and community consciousness speak louder than Trump has excitements and indictments. Who remembers when I advocated for single moms in court way back when? Who witnessed my abilities to empower lost women back in the day, directions to find their own way? Would your eyes lead me up as a pimp then? No bitches and hoes, only as a sympathetic shoulder to cry on, of tears and fears of woes from their foes, and closing and opening them even in arguments in court. Haters' hearts are merely markers with eyes viewing my image as a coloring book. In my own foundation, self-salvation, no imagination. Cross my street next time, look inside my own intersection and community conscience connections.
What a well-read poem. Oh my goodness, thank you for sharing that. I'd now like to welcome Bronwyn Carver reading her poem of Courage Needed. Bronwyn has been a writer for as long as she can remember, and for Bronwyn, writing is like breathing. She is compelled to write every day as writing and her 3 kitties help her deal with life. Bronwyn's poetry was recently published in the Orion magazine, a national literary magazine, and she also served on this year's Zine committee. Please enjoy Bronwyn reading of Courage Needed.
All right, of Courage Needed, by me. In times of trouble, no mothers come to me. No words of wisdom spoken are told to be. Only myself I have, and this wretched mind, to sort through the evils and all the denials, to summon courage of will to sit with my abundant mess, trying not to drown in all madness and duress. Yet melancholic sympathies play songs back and then, play for me the music, I will put myself together again. Just when it all becomes too much to bear, I find a way to light, to come back from there. Finding a way through some place to hold it all away, though still near, it's the hurtful words that always hold sway. Smile on my face to the masses I turn, driven mad by my sadness, integration still is what I yearn. Thank you.
In the zine, Bronwyn also has an illustration that accompanies that poem. I encourage you to take a look. Now I would like to welcome Coffee, reading his essay, quote, "The Miracle on Hippie Hill." Coffee is a retired street performer known as the Dirty Hippie Freak on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Fake Book. He's all about spreading the love because love is all that will save us. Please enjoy Coffee's story, The Miracle on Hippie Hill. Thank you.
I need to be upfront about it. When you get it, it says untitled. I have cognitive decline and neglected to put it in the subject. But I have been printing them and pasting it in, and if you would like a list of them that you can cut out and paste in, I will gladly give you the template and email, and you can print them all day. There are libraries that let you do it for free. My name is Coffee. It's Jared Coffee, but I use my last name as my gimmick. My name is Coffee since I dropped my first name. Like many, I am a transplant, and I am proud to say that I saw a chosen brother liberated from alcoholism. Spending 4 decades either going to or sleeping near Hippie Hill in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park had been a transcendent experience prior, meeting people from all over the country, drawn like a magnet. It was 2017 when the sensei of selling cannabis in the park, Brother Theo, ascended to housing after 20 years. I'm sorry. I was so happy for the brother. I interviewed the director of the Coalition on Homelessness in 2017. You have to be homeless in San Francisco 20 years on average before you get a place. Brother Bruce at Home PDX says it's an average of 6 here. But anyway. It was 2017 when the sensei of selling cannabis in the park, Brother Theo, ascended to housing after 20 years, living in Golden Gate Park. It was this year I recorded my interview with Jennifer Friedenbach, director of the Coalition on Homelessness in San Francisco. She told me clearly that 20 years homeless is average in San Francisco. Thankfully, Brother Bruce at Home PDX said it's an average of 6 years in Portland. Brother Sully rose to the occasion in 2017 and replaced Theo selling cannabis, but he was drinking a gallon of vodka per day. He had to drink in the middle of the night to get back to sleep. I told him about the research from 2010 that showed psilocybin mushrooms, gold caps, not the infamous red cap with white spots, cure alcoholism. Of course, he talked to the brother selling shrooms, and it was only a few months before he asked me where his bottle was. I asked if someone stole it, but he gave me the look and said, "I don't need it anymore," with a big grin on his face. When I went back to SF 6 months later, he had a job that paid well enough for him to have an apartment in San Francisco and a girlfriend. Got his whole life back once the bottle lifted off his head. We also have evidence the same results can be obtained without the use of any drugs via sensory deprivation. Spelunking and float tanks are the leading activities to achieve this state, but if you aren't in a facility, please have something to snap you out of it, which is why I lean heavily on paying a float tank center to do the driving. I remain always grateful for the miracles available all around us if we take the time to look. Much love, everyone. Coffee, the Dirty Hippie Freak. And since I'm already here, I think that the dirty hippie trick is to talk to all the pastors and say, going in your prayer closet and talking to God sounds a lot like that. You might actually connect. Then maybe we could have a different kind of a discussion in this country where we're all brothers and sisters. We're all genetically related as recently as 5,000 years ago. So we changed the paradigm. I have sisters and brothers everywhere, no matter who they are. Much love. I made a promise.
Oh, yeah, you gotta sign that.
It's the right thing to do.
It is.
I get to be grateful.
Thank you so much, Coffee. Each year, the zine is dedicated to our community members who have passed away. Maddie Brown Clark was a passionate writer and contributed greatly to the zine through her own writing and through her work on the zine editorial committee. It was a privilege to work alongside Maddie on the zine committee this year, and she is missed dearly. In memory of Maddie, Jen, and Ray Ray, I'd like to share Maddie's poem published in this year's zine, titled The Princess at Bybee Lakes, which she wrote before her passing and which she dedicated to a dear friend. Yes?
When is the speech is over?
Oh, we've got a few more readers, and then the speeches will be over. All right. The Princess at Bybee Lakes by Maddie Brown Clark, dedicated to a dear friend. Dim the lights, close the fire door, for the Princess of Bybee Lakes is no more. She lit up the shelter with her sweet ways. She gave us so many lovely days. Wheeling around in her makeshift chair, she made all the residents love her and care. Whatever help she could give, she was there for us and made it a pleasure. A tiny little waif, she had the sweetest smile. She was not much more than a mere child. But her hard times are over, she's finally free, and she will live on in my memory. Beautiful. So I just wanted to share that in memory of her and in memory of Ray Ray and Jen this year. Next up, we have Shaggy reading his prose piece titled The Truth About Dares. Shaggy came into writing through his struggle with depression, and he surprised himself with improving his writing after getting encouragement from other poets and writers at the Street Roots Creative Writing Workshop. Shaggy is a talented lyricist and enjoys writing poetry with strong rhymes. This year, he also served on the editorial committee for the first time, and he works as a Street Roots ambassador. In his free time, he enjoys skateboarding and working on his first book. I hope that you enjoy Shaggy's story, The Truth About Dares.
All right. Can I be heard well from here? All right. Once upon an ever so special afternoon, I was stoked to have my little brother visiting here in Portland. I was working at Sisters of the Road at the time, and I didn't know how long he'd be in town. I wanted him to be able to get around better with me to see more places, and so I got him a Sector 9 longboard. I was convinced, or I had to convince him of the value, and he picked out a Santa Cruz lowrider at Calskate across the street. A couple days later, these kids had convinced us, me, that the zoo bomb run from Washington Zoo down through the neighborhood to downtown was an advanced run. They said teenagers do it all the time. Not as beginners and amateurs with no protective gear, they don't. And not with huge 72 millimeter gummies either. My brother looks up the route on the way up on the max and changes his mind, but I wasn't having it. He started walking down the hill, and I had attempted to sink a few throwing knives from this guy practicing up near the trailhead. A few minutes later, I scoped the start of the hill and determined that it didn't seem that bad. I should have no issues, right? Wrong. I hit the commit speed in like 5 or 6 seconds, and only after I was going way too fast to stop, without any road rash, realized there's no side streets to lose speed. Cheese and crackers. So I had a lucky blown roundabout, super hairy chicane corner, narrowly missing a side view mirror on the way out, and then about 7 to 10 seconds of high-speed wobbles, which felt like, many more seconds than that. I took a mellow left, and just as the speed wobble slowed down and I had to make a sharp decision, I see the road disappearing up in front of me, another downhill section as I had just quit the wobbling. So I'm thinking at this point, I should be able to run this out, right? If I aim at the grass? Negative. 2 leaning strides of Pisa, and then I hit the sliding on my hip and arm. I hit the curb and then continued to slide. Ouch. So my brother witnessed me blow past, right? And without even knowing, and I didn't know either, that it was me, he sees me slide in for third base. Safe. Nope, he'll keep sliding on to home. Nope, he's out. But I had no broken bones. My face was good. The excursion on the other 28 to 35 blocks back down to my workplace, Sisters of the Road, before getting it cleaned out, the gravel, this stuck in the road rash. A little less than awesome, but in the end, still felt like an achievement. Fuck it. I took that hill like a boss. Bonus for my brother was I wasn't going to keep wearing him out since he was a little less skilled at riding than I was. So we got more quality time together after that, and I took riding more seriously. I'm not sure I'd be the rider I am today without knowing my limits and surpassing what I thought prior. Seeing how crashing and falling isn't so bad as long as you are careful not to do it again and pick yourself up. On a true positive note, we did get to return a guitar someone had stolen in a moment that could have only happened through Providence. They left it on the Riverside Esplanade, and we found it in the middle of the night, apparently forgotten guitar case. My brother opens it up, sees it carrying it around for nearly a month, told a couple people he'd return it if he saw the guy, and miraculously did. He had practiced on it some, but he fully intended to return it if able, and the guy was awestruck when he saw it. Could barely contain his excitement. He began endlessly naming signatures that were on the inside and outside of the case, verify his ownership. It was pretty epic. Not all who wander are lost. J.R. Tolkien.
Shaggy, that's such an exciting story. I really enjoy that one. All right, now I'd like to introduce George McCarthy reading his piece titled Memories. Whether through the holiday zine, the creative writing workshop, or poetry in the paper, George is deeply connected with Street Roots writing opportunities. George says that Street Roots writing inspires him to keep creating through writing, photography, and illustration. And most recently, George's poetry was also published in the Orion magazine. Please welcome George.
Hello, everybody. God, I got bifocals on. I'm going to hang on to this just in case. Oh, and here I am. Look at that. I brought it up myself. I've had a lot of experiences in Portland, Oregon since I came here. I didn't know I'd run into a gentrification crisis like I did. So it was very painful. I spent 7.5 years in 7 different homeless shelters in 3 different states. I've had a lot of painful experiences, but I've had a lot of good ones as well. I'm very happy to have learned what I've learned. I just feel very terrible for people that are still suffering even worse. I was housed about a year ago, and even so, thank you. It can be really hard on you even then. I still, between having more bills to pay for, having sometimes even less money, and you're always afraid about if you're too many things that you have to do in life are up to other people, so you only have so much opportunities to, feel more secure. But so far, so good, and I am very happy with what progress I've made. So, okay, let me begin. I slept in the tall grass of a wide highway, wide highway median. And sometimes I'd wake in the quiet night and eat mangoes and look at the stars while the wind bounced the spikelets around my face. I could smell gasoline and hear the highway breathing and wonder if I was going to live. Waiting for the bus near the Greyhound station, looking at the steel bridge, while the seagulls were swinging around me, admiring the blue sky and latticed iron, bright sunlight tucked even in the shadowy places like honey, not knowing that the brightest color in the universe was the glittering puddle of blood I was standing in. Gunshots, fistfights, freezing weather, stop signs, bloody feet, grapefruits, cherry blossoms, heartbreak, wildflowers, bed bugs, rotten food, night sweep, sleeting rain, deep breaths, buttermilk, loud screams. Wrapped in fire blankets and surrounded by walls so sickly radioactive green, I have no choice but to make friends with the color, seeing elements of my mother's porcelain bowls, sun-faded wood and spumoni, till I sit within plated sheets of cool mint that leave a phantom scent of menthol in the air. My storage place, bright motion lights, refrigerated air, standing in the cardboard artifacts of my life, holding a faded blue spiral journal, from when I was a boy, looking at my words, seeing how much I felt and knew about the warping pain in my life that would be nameless for decades. I trace over a word I wrote nearly 40 years ago, and the ink settles neatly over it, like Cinderella's heel tracing a glass curve. Orange leaves, loud words, nightmare, butterscotch, red trees, heartbeat, side glance, waffle cream, fireplace, crow call, blue bruise, fountain pen, dragonfly, pine trees, fruit flies, diamond point, mindstorm. Walking down a path near Milwaukee along the top of a T-juncture, near a small area gathered to the side like a pouch, I stood there and looked at this little intersection, the street sign, the culvert that drew water under the road, and I saw a patch of deep violet flowers growing wild by a white fence. Petals out sideways like banners in the wind. The scent was strong like a burst of passion fruit rooted in tomato vine with an unnatural waxy plasticness spiraling through it against a complex background I couldn't make out. And I felt myself as a boy 50 years ago on Fire Island, the miniature road, honeysuckle steeped in the air. I had to force myself out that day like a man reaching 30 feet down a well to draw up water with his hands, and with this scent in my mind, I stood in two places at once and let the flower trace the shape of beauty rooted within itself, twined through with what feels unnatural against a background just beyond you, like so much of me. Thank you.
I'm always just blown away by the images in your poetry, George. Really stunning. All right, next we have Karen Brown reading selections from her epic poem titled Sidewalks. Karen has lived in Portland for 61 years. She says that street roots mean so much to her and has helped her get back into writing, for which she is grateful in so many ways. So I hope that you enjoy some selections from a much longer poem titled Sidewalks.
This isn't the whole poem. The whole poem was actually 900 and some words, Maggie said. When I was homeless and living on the streets, walking and walking, no biggie, it's just my beat. Looking, nobody's looking, and that's just fine because the streets, they keep things off my mind. We hear so much, we see so much, and we get so much crap. The streets are the devil's maze, and all the exits have been lined with booby traps. Paying customer only, exclamation mark, in bold print. It's on every door for you to read, in bold print. Please, please, exclamation mark. Damn it, another pair of pants I just peed. Yay, we get to eat. Wait, what? You mean we have no choice but to continue our fast? That's okay, the hunger pains, they keep me from thinking of the past. Do you think this life is what I chose? Days with no shower or a change of clothes, no change to speak of in my pockets, and eyes that look like oil-filled sockets. By now, these streets, they no longer make my skin creep. Yes, damn it, I'm still on my feet. now as you stand here next to me, this is the beginning of your sidewalk trilogy. Thinking back on how you treated me, unfortunately, now you will see what a difference a simple smile would have meant to me.
Maggie,
Yes.
how many more reader poems to go?
Is Johnny Rotten here? He was. I don't think he is anymore. Okay. Well, in that case, Nathaniel, that was the last of them. So I would like to thank all of our readers one more time for sharing their talents, writing, and creativity with us this afternoon. So round of applause for them. Oh, Ricky. Oh my gosh, Ricky. Ricky, please come join us. Oh my goodness. Ricky was this week's vendor profile, and is this your first time being published in the zine? This is his very first time being published in the zine. My apologies to Ricky as he shares his poem titled The Medic.
The medic. Thank you. I'm a little nervous. Just one more?
Just one more. One more. Okay. This poem is called The Medic. I served our country for 20 years, 2 tours in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan for our country. And I came back from Portland with a lot of PTSD, anger issues, things like that. I got with Street Roots. They provided me with a lot of support. I was working on Mississippi and Shaver for about 12 hours a day, selling newspapers in the rain, and got to meet a lot of people, a lot of dogs' names, and that was a real enjoyable time. Because I got to lead, I needed to get in the community. I had to get out of the isolation, the despair, thinking about how life was so bad. But Portland turned out to be a really good city. I've been here for 23 years, and the people here are just wonderful. Our Kaya is really nice and everything. Our manager here and all the people that work here. I'm just grateful to Maggie for giving me a chance. I never wrote much poetry before. And I said, well, I was having some PTSD issues, and I started writing poetry, and it kind of got me into a frame that I was more subtle with my life. It was bringing a joy to my soul. And so I presented a couple pieces to her, and she said she liked it, And I said, okay, I'll write some more, So I think I've got about 6 times been published in here. I really enjoy writing poetry for Street Roots. Okay, mine is The Medic by Ricky Dwayne Wagner. The sounds of rounds zoom by in unison, pop, 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 pop. As they fly for the air. Point man goes down as one finds its mark. They move forward as the call goes out. Medic! A strong man responds in a race against time, a safe a life, or to give final comfort. The bright red cross glows on his hallowed helmet, an angel of many among a field of death. All right. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I'm glad that you stopped me. Oh.
And that you started writing poetry.
Yes. Yeah, what a joy to share that poem with us. Thank you, Ricky. All right, one more round of applause for all of our writers. Oh, I would love to do a group photo. Let's do that after we conclude here. Okay, so after this last bit, I'd love a group photo of all of our writers who spoke today. And then also, if you didn't get a chance to sign a copy of the zine, I would love your signature in my zine. That would just make it really special. So thank you all for being a terrific audience this afternoon and for joining us for this event. Please feel free to hang around for a while, catch up, finish up those snacks and drinks, and perhaps purchase a zine from one of our vendors here. Now is also a great opportunity to get your zine autographed by your favorite writers. There are pens and markers over by the name tags if you would like to do that. So please be sure to keep an eye out for vendors selling zines around town this holiday season. And thank you all for all of your support. It means the world. Thank you. Oh, round of applause. Oh, y'all are so kind.